Hello my fellow riders, this is Chris at Ride and Reviews, and today we're going to be looking at the Yamasaki YM50 RE. Now as you can see, this is a Yamasaki YM50 RE, and as standard they come at £1,699 on the road for the standard version. This one is a Repsol version and it is limited edition, and this one is £1,899 on the road. Now there's a couple of things to note on this bike. It is a very large bike for a 50cc. Now we have a CF Moto 650cc motorbike here, and it is not that dissimilar in size. Now it comes with 17-inch wheels front and back, and it comes with twin calipers on the front. Now for a 50cc this is massively over the top, but these bikes are designed to take either a 50, a 125 or a 300cc engine. So the front brakes are over the top, and it does come with a disc on the back which is also over the top. The frame is over the top, and so are the forks for a 50cc. Now this bike will go 29 miles an hour restricted. First and second gear are not restricted. Third gear is restricted to 7,000 revs, which works out to be about 23 miles an hour, and fourth gear is restricted to 29. If you decide to get this de-restricted, it will go somewhere in the region of 43 miles per hour, 43 to 45. It will still slow down on hills, but it is a 50, and that is something that you are going to have to deal with. Now this bike is mainly designed for a 16-year-old, and it is designed to sit in the position between something like the Lexmotor Hunter and the Aprilia RS50. Now, as I said, this one's £1,699. The Aprilia RS50 is £4,399, and the Lexmoto Hunter is £1,199. Insurance on all three should be somewhere in the region of £350 to £500. There is a link in my description for a company called Bikesure, and I know that they have insured this bike in the past for £350 for a 16-year-old. Now this does very much depend on where you're keeping it, how you're keeping it, what area you live in. So I can't 100% guarantee that it is going to be £350 to £500, but I have heard people get quotes for that. Now it comes with LED indicators front and back, LED rear light, and it comes with the LED headlights on the front. Now this is a Euro 4 spec bike, which means it has to be either electronically carbureted or it has to be fuel injected. This bike is electronically carbureted, and it does have headlights that you cannot turn off. That is another part. Also, it has a side stand switch on it, so if the side stand is down, you will not be able to start this bike, but it will still try and turn over, so all you're going to do is flatten the battery. Now let's talk about a couple of the pros and cons of this bike. We did have some issues before with the choke, but that has now been remedied, where the choke wasn't going on full, so when you start the bike from cold, it wasn't coming on enough for you to start the bike. The way around that was you stuck your hand up there and pushed the cable up with your carburetor, but you don't want to be doing that, and we sorted that problem, so now the bike starts really, really nicely. As you can probably see with some of these things, there's a pink line on here, all these nuts and bolts, and this means that those bolts were all torqued up to where they were supposed to be, and checked. Every bike that leaves Cheap Bikes for us is test ridden, and every bike is checked and torqued up as they're supposed to be. And if you have a look around the bike, all the major nuts and bolts are torqued up to where they're supposed to be. Now some of the cons of this bike is it is a racing bike. You're not going to be able to go racing on it, but it's the style, which means that you can't get a back crack on this, and there isn't anywhere in the country that will offer that. And also your seating position is slightly down, but it's not like a full-on racing bike. You're not leaning all on the tank. If you do lean on the tank, you're not going to go any faster, so there's no point in doing it. It has some wind resistance and weather resistance, but it's not a... It is an all-weather bike, but I would suggest that if possible, you use it when it's nice. With all brand new bikes, they need to be running. This one needs to be running for 300 miles. The tyres take a little bit longer to run in. They take up to 500 miles. Now, as you can see on here, it's got miles per hour, your time, how much fuel you got, and how many miles you got. This one has 5 miles on it. All that means is we have test ridden it. It has a rev counter, a neutral light, and it will tell you what gear you're in. So that's the first time I've started it up today. Sometimes when you first start them up, they will cut out. If you just leave it, you'll hear it, it'll start to pick up. These ones, you know when they're ready to ride because it'll be idling at about 2000 RPM. If you try and ride it when it's cold, it's likely to cut out. Can you hear that clicking? That clicking is part of the electronic fueling, electronic carburation, and it just changes the mixture to try and get the bike ready for you to ride. As you can hear now, the revs are starting to increase, and that means it is getting closer to a position that you can actually ride it in. These don't sound like the little motorbikes anymore. The little scooters, they don't sound like sewing machines. So today let's talk a little bit about the Yamasaki and how it feels to ride it about. I know quite a lot of you, quite a lot of my subscribers have been asking me to do some information on how the bike actually feels to ride. Now this is just a tester, so we'll see if it works, if it doesn't, if you like it. So with the Yamasaki Ym50 RE, it is very much designed to be very similar to what a, say, 600cc motorbike would feel like. Now when they come into the country, legally they have to be restricted to somewhere between 28 and 30 miles an hour. And the problem is with the Yamasaki is where the restriction is. So on these, it comes with a restrictor on the 3rd and 4th gear. Now the 3rd gear restrictor comes in at 7000 RPM, and that will make it so that it actually physically comes in at about 23 miles an hour. Now there is a little bit of an issue about where this comes in. When you're going up a hill, the difference between the 2nd gear and the 3rd gear isn't a lot at all. So in the 2nd gear you're going to be able to get a max speed of about 22 miles an hour. In the 3rd gear you're going to get a max speed of about 23 miles an hour. That means that the 3rd gear is pretty much useless when it's restricted. When it is unrestricted, it becomes a completely different kettle of fish, and you can use all gears. The other issue that comes in is when you go from 3rd to 4th, it comes in that when you actually put it into 4th gear is a 6000 RPM. And with all of these smaller 50cc engines, you'll find that, I know that there's not a lot of power, but the majority of the power of these bikes comes in at about 7,000 RPM. So you've got a sluggish period in the fourth gear until you get to that 7,000 RPM, and then it starts to pick up. In the top gear, it's still restricted to 7,000 RPM, but now it comes in at about 29 miles an hour. Now with these bikes, you've got to remember that they are a 50cc, they're not going to have a lot of power. They are designed for a 16-year-old to be able to get on and get a little bit of a freedom, so they don't have to ride on a bus. Now the bike definitely does that, and it does have the feel of a 600cc. We have in stock at the moment the Ym50 NK, and the size difference between them isn't a lot at all. Now when I'm riding these bikes for the first time, they're all on brand new tyres, brand new engine. They've got no miles on them, so I can't really tell you exactly what they're like to ride on this particular bike until you do 500 miles. Because the problem is when all tyres come into the country, or it doesn't matter if they're what make or model or whatnot, when all tyres come in, they all have like a greasy substance on the tyre, and it takes about 500 miles to remove that. So you can't get the full performance until that is gone. Now during the day when it's nice and sunny, it doesn't become a problem because you don't have a slick area. But when it comes to rain, then you have a little bit of an issue, because of that slick period. So you want to try and do your 500 miles in the dry. I know that's not always feasible, but just take it easy when you do come to riding in the wet. So restricted, it'll do 29 miles an hour. Unrestricted, you're looking about 43. This isn't the sort of speed either way that you can get your foot down, so don't try, because you're just going to end up falling off. Manoeuvrability of these is quite nice because they are a sports bike-esque design. So they are fairly responsive to all different type of manoeuvrings, and you can do sharp turns and stuff. The other thing with these bikes is the front brake is massively over the top, so you do have a lot of stopping power. These are designed to take either a 50cc, a 125 or a 350. So the brakes have to be capable of stopping a 350cc bike, which they do rather well. So if you wanted to, you could do endos. I don't know if you can hear it at the minute, but you can hear like a popping sound because I'm going down the hill, and that's just the unburnt fuel going through the back of the exhaust. So manoeuvrability wise, as I say, you can move it around, is really agile to do so. Braking's really nice, and the seating position is good as well. You're not going to get dead arms or anything, because it is supposed to be a racing bike, but you're not leaning over as much as you would on a proper racing bike. So you're fairly upright, your back isn't hurting. So yeah. So we'll do the intro, and we'll just see what happens then. So thank you for watching my video on the Yamasaki YM50 RE. Now this is a 50cc bike, and it is designed for a 16-year-old. The tax on these for the first year is free, then after it is £20 a year. Your insurance should be somewhere in the region of £350 to £500. Now comment below if you've got anything to say on this bike. Hit the thumbs up, thumbs down, depending if you like my video. Subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell to stay updated to all my latest content. But as always, ride safe.